Hey everyone, and welcome to the Trophy Trust. It's a weekly podcast for the PlayStation Trophy Hunters. I am this week's host. I'm Claire88, and I'm joined as always by Dazil, Daz.
Hello, good evening.
And for this episode, we have two special guests from another podcast that I regularly listen to. It is SquareXO, and we have Dan, the man whose name is Dan.
Hello.
And Nicole.
Hello.
Hi guys, thanks for joining us on this episode here.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah.
Of course, I know you guys have done a lot of really, really good episodes and stuff like that on your side and your own podcast, so I was very, very eager. Been listening to you guys for a while, so I was very eager to try to get something set up, so I'm glad we managed to get this set up. For all those who don't know, these guys run a very, very good PlayStation-centric podcast and have been doing it for some time now. So definitely check that out. They'll be giving more information on that later. But we're going to go along with some of the same topics and the themes that we've been doing along with the Trophy Trust Weekly podcast. And that's the very first section, which is where we talk about what games we've actually been playing this week. So I wanted to ask Daz, what games have you been playing this week?
Well, thanks for starting with me. We've got, let me think. Well, first off, I finished Uncharted: The Lost Legacy to begin with. I'm not going to go into spoiler sort of territory. I already sort of summed up on Twitter what I think about it, but I'll sum it up here as well. Like, quintessential Uncharted. That's the only phrase I can really think of. People would look at it and think, oh, it's a smaller game, or originally it was conceived as story DLC, the first of its kind for the Uncharted franchise, but just fantastic. Like, Naughty Dog have knocked it out of the park again. It's just unbelievable, like some of the set pieces in it. It is a true Uncharted game. Just from the action, it borrows a lot of mechanics from 4. It's basically like 4.5 really in terms of like core mechanics. It's got all the same kind of stuff: the stealth, the grappling hook, all the weapons from previous. Sorry, not the weapons, but the kind of weapon system, switching weapons on the fly, cover based. It's Uncharted. I platinumed it, finished it, really enjoyed it. As a platinum, pretty easy. Now, previous Uncharted games have been a little challenging. The original trilogy on PS3 and then the remastered trilogy on PS4 because of crushing mode. But as of Uncharted 4, crushing mode is a lot easier because it allows you to turn on tweaks or cheats or whatever you want to call it, like modifiers to the gameplay. So as soon as you finish the game on any difficulty below crushing or even crushing, you can then turn on these modifiers such as infinite ammo. You can unlock all the weapons, so you can basically just change to any weapon on the fly. And also, there's a few others, but there's also another one like a bullet time, where when you aim down your sights for your gun, time slows down, kind of, and it gives you slow motion, everyone around you but you basically, and gives you ample time to line up headshot after headshot. Combined with infinite ammo, it's a cakewalk to do.
I'm pretty sure that's the way I did Uncharted 4 Platinum, but I haven't
I wish I'd have known this.
I didn't know either.
Yeah.
You guys are playing as well, is that right? The other two guys?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Dan and Nicole,
playing it?
you're playing it, aren't you?
Yeah. I finished it quite a while ago as well. So I got the platinum, but I did it the hard way.
The old hard way.
Yeah, the old school way. But yeah, it's a great game. It's I agree with everything.
Well, what I found is I started on crushing like out of the gate. I'm thinking, I'm going to do this in one playthrough, try and most efficient path to the platinum. So started on crushing, and I won't say breezing through it, but I was having a good time. I wasn't really struggling in the combat. Then I got to one particular chapter, and I'm not going to spoil it, but it's roughly in the middle, and the difficulty spike just shoots up out of nowhere. And Dan, if you say you finished it, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm just going to say chapter 6.
Okay. Is that without mudslide?
Well, Nicole, how far have you played into it?
I finished it as well.
Well, I'm the only one here who hasn't finished it, so you can go ahead
well,
and
I'm just going to say one word. It won't spoil it, but it will just give you a hint. APC.
Yeah. That's it. That's exactly
Okay. Yeah. Moving past that quickly, as that's what I'm saying. Got to that bit, and it was just kicking my ass over and over and over again. I was trying every different method. So in the end, I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm having a bad time. I'm just going to knock the difficulty down and then come back and do crushing again later with the tweaks on. I tried it legit, but then the difficulty spike comes out of nowhere and just hits you hard. So I finished it on normal or whatever it was, but considerably lower. Finished the game, and then what I did is I didn't start crushing again from the beginning. I went back to that chapter 6, upped it to crushing, turned the tweaks on, and continued from there on crushing, and I still got the crushing trophy. So you can basically go back and cherry pick the chapters that you haven't done in crushing with the cheats on, and still get the crushing trophy for it, which is brilliant.
I think it tells you in the chapter select what the highest difficulty is you finished on.
As long as you've got all of them under crushing, regardless of what order you've done them. Although I think you have to play the last mission last, because I think the credits is what triggers the difficulty trophies. So as long as you play it in any order and then leave the last chapter to last, you can. But I would say my advice is don't do it my way. Like, if you feel up to the challenge, go for it. I encourage it. But personally, I really struggled with it up to that point, and it was killing the enjoyment. So knocked it down, came out with the tweaks on, and I had an absolute blast with the tweaks on. I love the slow-mo, like the bullet time slow-mo. It's just so satisfying because one weapon in the game, the suppressed pistol, when you have auto aim turned on, it automatically locks onto headshots straight away, and you can basically one hit kill. And doing that with slow-mo on with infinite ammo, just so satisfying. It was like,
God.
It was like being in a Metal Gear Solid game or something, but especially when you're sneaking around in the tall grass, it's like being Big Boss in Metal Gear Solid 5. I just found it really satisfying.
It's a shame Claire's not finished it, because we had a discussion on our podcast about Chapter 4 and how we've what we felt about Chapter 4 and how the gameplay mechanic specifically changes.
I've never played it. I haven't picked it up yet.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it would have been an interesting discussion, I think, to have, just to see what people felt. But maybe if you haven't played it, it's probably not fair on the game. But
for Uncharted, to be honest, I don't buy Uncharted for its story, so I would be okay with hearing some details and stuff like that. I'm not gonna be someone that's gonna strap over it, But
maybe. What did you think of Chapter 4 then, Daz, when the whole mechanic changes to an open world, do it in what order you want level rather than a corridor shooter?
Out about this, I think I did mention it on a previous episode. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I definitely mentioned it on Twitter. I really liked it. I thought it was really refreshing to go from a good couple of games, 1, 2, 3, and I know 4 had a little bit of this in it, but 1, 2, and 3 very linear experiences, to go to a kind of open world portion where you can do it in whatever order you want, and address that kind of side quest. Not to go in any details about that, but that side quest that's there available in that area. I really like that, because I did that first. Well, I didn't do it first, but I had started it first and then worked clockwise around the map, doing the secondary mission, then the main mission, working all the way back up to the top again to where you eventually need to go once you've got all the 3 main things done. And I really liked it. It was really kind of I just like stumbling across little encampments of enemies and then taking them out, unlocking the I got loot boxes, lock boxes, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That was great. Finding golden weapons in there to help me along the way. I did try to stealth as much as I could, but on crushing, which I started it off originally, it can be a little bit frustrating because unlike the lower modes, the enemy AI is really sharp. It's just instantly on, and you don't have the tagging, and you don't have the awareness meters as well, so it can be a little challenging. But that wasn't the bit I was struggling on, as I said before. It was just Chapter 6 that really where it picked up. But I liked it. I found it really refreshing. I know it was in 4, but here it felt more fleshed out a little bit more, especially with a secondary thing to do as well. I feel they designed it that way to push more hours into the game, to have a little bit more content, to just beef it out a bit in the middle.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
that's how it felt to me.
Yeah,
that's funny, because I didn't enjoy that chapter.
Yeah, I was the same.
I didn't like the fact that all of a sudden it opened up and you had to find your own way. Sorry, what I've loved about the previous Uncharted games is that it has led you through the narrative, and the gameplay's kind of led you through this paced story. And I felt that it was really, really good. And then Chapter 4 hits and it slows right down.
Yeah.
And I kind of not lost interest, because obviously I got through to the end, but for me, it just spoiled the experience. I didn't want to have to go on a collectibles quest, even though not a quest for not the side quest, but even just to go to the different points to progress the story. I felt like it slowed everything down. And
I agree completely. I think it was I think Uncharted is an action game, and with an action game comes a lot of pace, and I just feel as soon as it opened up, that was staggered immediately. And you go
I
exploring.
like that change though. That from the very beginning, up until pretty much up until that chapter, I agree. The pace was quick. It was an action game. But what I liked particularly about this bit is the long conversations that the two characters have while you're driving around. It fleshed out their background.
Yeah,
They
it's great.
spoke about their lives and what brought them to this moment, and that's what pushed me through that bit. Not to say that it was a struggle, because I enjoyed the gameplay, but I like that. I like getting back in the car after an enemy event, or doing the main bit or doing the side bit, and then they'd start a new dialogue about this.
That was clever, wasn't it, as well? If you got out halfway through, they'd continue.
What were we saying again? They did that in 4. They were very clever to mask dialogue and use that in 4.
I suppose they had to do that because the characters are kind of new, so they had to flesh it out. You didn't go in knowing the main cast as well as what you knew from the original trilogy. So I suppose they had to use that mechanic to flesh out the story, maybe. But
yeah, I think the little conversations they had, and they, dancing along spoilers here, which I'm being very careful, but the rapport that grows, and then there's that turning point, within that leads up to that particular difficult chapter I was talking about.
Yeah.
There's a revelation, and I think that was more of an impact there for that revelation, and that's what I like. But I like the fact that whole chapter feels like a road trip, and that's what I liked about it. Plus, there was kind of Metal Gear Solid 5 kind of open world-ish kind of vibe where you can go around the land, sneak in, finding stuff, and that was cool. It was it was refreshing for me. But I can understand where you're coming from. You want to play Uncharted as a linear action game.
Yeah, it's just I don't like this. For me, it just kind of reflects that this constant need to open up games, and I just don't think. I think some games are best left a bit more linear. I don't think every game needs to have this open world aspect, as big or small as they may be. I mean, it's great as well. Naughty Dog are fantastic with their graphics and how good everything looks, and it was really great for kind of giving you those options to, sink endless amounts of time into the photo mode, but. I just think overall it really stunted the pace of the game, and I just didn't enjoy it as much as everyone else seemed to.
I just feel that it was definitely some kind of if you take that chapter and just in your mind reshuffle it to a linear experience. Let's say you only need to go to one of the locations, or you just go to it's basically just one area from beginning to end linear. I think the game would be a lot shorter, and I feel they needed this to pad it out. In a good way, in a bad way, however you want to take that, but it just feels that this was kind of necessary to bulk the game out,
to justify the cost, basically.
It can't just be set piece, otherwise they're just going to burn through the game and it's going to be over in 4 hours. I think you needed this kind of, it's like when you do some of the traversal bits later on in the game when another character joins in, and it's a little bit slow, but you've got some really nice dialogue going on there. It's enjoyable. Some of the climbing bits can be a little bit boring, but that's remedied by the punchy dialogue.
Yeah.
In there. So I'm fine with the pacing of it. I'd rather it just be there. I'd rather there be a breather. I know it was quite long as well, because the bulk of my game was in that chapter alone, because I feel that's how they balance the game for you to be in that bit for the longest time. And you're right, it does, for it to go chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, So it is noticeable. It is definitely noticeable, but it didn't impact the game for me in a negative way. But I totally understand where you guys are coming from.
I'm definitely looking forward to picking up, and thank you all for that 20-minute critical analysis of what the campaign is. Okay, let's get back on track then. I'm sorry.
Sorry, that was my fault too.
No, it's okay. Well, we just had a lot of input there, and that's good.
Easy platinum in my opinion, other than the crushing mode. But if you don't do crushing mode first, like I did, and unlock the modifiers, it's a breeze. You've got a few other trophies, like particular kills in an order or this and that. The treasures are pretty easy to find, although I used a video, but you're given something in the game that makes it a little easier.
Yeah.
Although I'd say just use a video guide, to be honest, like any other Uncharted game. Not too many treasures because the game is a little bit shorter. There's a few kind of like weird trophies in the game for doing particular things, but nothing that Chapter Select can't easily remedy. Overall, fantastic. Definitely recommend it as a trophy hunter, as a gamer, as an Uncharted fan. Fantastic game.
Awesome.
And just quickly moving on to my other game, really quick. This one game called Wheels of Aurelia. Personally, found it a bit boring. It's a very narrative heavy game. It's set in Italy in the late 70s, I believe it is. You drive across the country. I say drive. It's like kind of top down at a kind of angle. It's kind of hard to explain. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like really old school GTA, like kind of like top down view of the cars. And it's just loads of text dialogue about characters, about their reasons for going on this road trip. You pick up hitchhikers. It has like 16 different endings.
Oh dear.
And
are they all required for a trophy?
Yes, every single ending has a trophy.
Oh,
so
dear.
you have to. But there is a chapter select. But I played it all day. It was like 6 hours, and it was so boring. Like it's not boring because of the text. It's just the story is not gripping at all. I didn't even know. I can't even remember what was going on by the end of it. Cause I was just so bored. You have a woman driving across the country with her friend. You pick up hitchhikers along the way. Depending on other people you meet on the road, you meet people who are horrible. You meet people who are nice. You can race some people. You get in trouble with the police. You get in trouble with I think it's some kind of communist terrorist group because it's set in Italy during the late 70s. So it's very politically heavy as well. I honestly, in terms of like platinum, it is kind of easy.
How long to total platinum? Like,
it took me like 6 hours basically. I'm looking here on my PSN Pro, 6 hours and 14 minutes, and I played it non-stop. Like I didn't turn my PlayStation off. I just sat there and suffered.
One playthrough of platinum, it's on those.
Like I said, 16 endings sounds daunting, but each playthrough is only about 20 to 15 minutes. Sorry, 15 to 20. It's still in the wrong order. 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because you can chapter select from certain points because where the roads literally branch out the roads. Each different road turning you take creates a different branching arc for the story. So you go down road A, but then road A will then split into A and B, and then you'll meet different people down A and B, and how you react to them people, how you talk to them in the dialogue. Because it's a kind of like you can choose what to say. You can choose the conversation sort of Telltale-ish kind of fashion.
Yeah.
But there's no voice acting. It's just all text, and I think that didn't help either because it is a lot of text to go through, and it's not particularly engaging. So I wouldn't really recommend it.
Sounds like the type of game you get on sale, and to be honest, it actually sounds like the type of game I'm actually going to take a miss on. But
yeah. It is, honestly, I picked it up in the sale because it was cheap, and it just bored me. Like I like the art style; it's really nice, and you don't have to drive. It has kind of like an auto drive kind of thing if you just want to sit and concentrate on the text. But I don't recommend it. It's pretty boring. So contrasting platinums here. Really good one from Uncharted. Really boring one from Wheels of Aurelia. So swings and roundabouts, I guess.
Oh, all right, cool. Well, just moving on here, Dan, I wanted to ask you what you've been playing this week.
Okay, cool. So I've one game I've been playing which I can't actually talk about because it's under embargo.
Oh my god.
So I can't really say that. If you're friends with me on PSN and I'm online, you may have seen me play it. It's quite a niche, quite a Marmite title. I'm enjoying it, but I can't say any more until the 22nd of September.
Half-Life 3.
Half-Life 3?
Yeah.
Don't know what that is.
Oh,
but that's good, and I'm enjoying it. I'm playing Knack 2 though. I'm slowly playing Knack 2, which I'm actually really, really enjoying, and it's made me realise how much I enjoyed the first one as well. So
me too.
Claire, you've been playing that, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've probably seen my name in the little chesting, have you?
Yeah, I have, because I think you finished it now, haven't you? I'm still only on chapter 8.4 or 8.
That's a long
3
game
or something like that.
It's a long game.
Yeah. It's about 15 chapters long, I believe, but I think it's great. Some of the from what I've played, the platforming is solid. I like the combat. I like the fact that it's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
I quite like the characters and the way that it's kind of it's not as good as a Disney film, but there's that kind of tongue-in-cheek for kids but for adults kind of style to it. Haven't tried the co-op yet, but I've been pleasantly surprised actually, and I think that if you are a fan of 3D platformers, it's definitely worth giving a go.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't deserve anywhere near the level of hate that the internet seems to give it. It's become its own meme now of sort of bad games. So Knack 2 definitely is not that. I played it. I think it's really good. Like you said, if you're a fan of that style of game, you should definitely get into it. The combat was great. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I've played way worse games.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't like this kind of like, just go on a real quick tangent. I don't like this kind of like people looking down their nose at games that are like definitely geared towards children, but adults can play as well. Like I remember someone like sneering at me for enjoying Ratchet and Clank. Like, what's the problem? Like
I
the
would
games
fight
are
that,
awesome.
man. Yeah,
I need to hunt them down for that.
Like I love the Ratchet and Clank games, and
we all do.
younger people can play them, but they're also very good games for adults. Like you don't have to be playing like some
Just
ultra
look at the
gory
names of
first-person
them.
shooter.
Look at the North American names of every single Ratchet and Clank game. Like they're
Oh,
all
yeah, they're all
dirty,
innuendos.
naughty, sexual innuendos. You know, so
I hadn't noticed that. I'm still going to go straight to Google.
full
Yeah, no,
frontal
it's-
assault.
Up your arsenal,
Up your arsenal. Yeah.
going commando,
Yeah.
a crack in time.
Yeah, true.
Cross the
Yeah,
booty.
okay.
So I mean,
Yeah,
and everyone knows like that. Like all the kids shows that I certainly watched when I was younger, they had all adults doing innuendo stuff all the time. You know, so the hidden adult themes are always within kid shows in anything
Yeah.
kids things. I believe so.
But the same goes for Knack then. Like people are obviously, it's got the first game to kind of live up to the reputation of that, but that was a launch window game. In the history of console games, the games that generally come out at launch are not always known for being fantastic. Like obviously there are exceptions to this, definitely, but around that era, like time when a console launches, you get the games that showcase the hardware but are not necessarily fantastic games that will go down in history. And I think Knack got lumbered with that. I didn't play it, so I really can't say much more than that. But I'm definitely interested in Knack 2, probably a little bit down the line.
On a sale.
Maybe
Yeah.
a sale or something. Absolutely, I'll give it a go for sure.
I think you should. I think you'd like it actually.
Yeah.
I think it's a good, enjoyable. You know, some games you sit down for an hour. Well, by the sounds of it, you guys sit down for longer. But you know, you sit down for an hour and you just find yourself being like, I really like this. I'm just really enjoying it. It's not the best game I've ever played, but it's just an enjoyable romp.
That's why I like those type of games like Ratchet and Clank, or games that are like geared to younger audiences.
Or the
because
Lego
sometimes-
games
I love
are
the Lego
incredibly,
games.
I like
incredibly
Lego
popular.
games
They're incredibly
too.
popular.
Sometimes I find it cleanses my gaming palette to not be playing stuff that's all grim, gritty, depressing, gory. Sometimes it's nice to sometimes have a little bit of color, a little bit of fun, kind of bouncy animations. You know, that's why I really enjoyed the Insane trilogy, because it stands out from modern gaming where everything's like super realistic and ultra realism and blood and gore and grittiness and, you know, like really complex writing and all that kind of stuff. It's like, here's a bandicoot on an island trying to get to the top of another island. Like, we don't need much more than that. It's just fun, you know.
Rhyme was another one recently that was a bit like that for me.
Rhyme. Yeah, we played Rhyme.
Yeah, it's really good. And again, that was just one that you just sit and play and you just be like, oh, it's lovely. I don't know how else to explain it. But
yeah, precisely.
and then I've also been playing on my Vita Odin Sphere. I can't pronounce the next word. It's like Luftreise or Luftheise or something.
I've seen that in the thing.
Yeah, but that I don't know. It's a quite enjoyable side-scrolling RPG, I'd probably call it. Done by the guys that did Dragon's Crown. So you there's 6 characters. You do the story once with one character, and then you do it again with the other character, and the narratives all interlink. And,
I haven't got an experience of Dragon's Crown or Odin Sphere, but I've seen Dragon's Crown, so I can imagine the art being pretty impressive.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's really nice. And yeah, I'm just 2 trophies off of finishing that, so I should have that done in the next couple of days, and then I'm on to Oceanhorn.
On what platform, Oceanhorn?
I've got it on both. I've bought both the limited run versions, so I've got it on PS4 and Vita, but I'm probably going to go on Vita.
I did enjoy. I've platinumed it on PS4 and on Vita, and I have to say I enjoyed it on Vita more. It just felt really at home on a handheld.
Cool.
and it's a great copy on Vita as well. Like it runs fine, looks fantastic on the smaller screen, and it's
Good
Zelda. What more can you say? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't claim to not be Zelda. It's like fantastic. It just great game.
That sounds like a good endorsement. I wasn't very enamoured with the last Zelda game, which I know we won't talk about because it's a PlayStation Trophy podcast. But if Oceanhorn can kind of capture the essence of old school Zelda, then I'm all in.
Definitely.
Very
I'm
excited.
not someone who grew up on Zelda, but I have played some of the older Zeldas now and then, like not old Zelda, but some from a few years ago. And yeah, it does capture that vibe, the art style, the sound effects, the music. I think you'll really enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. It's a good game. I think it's really good.
I'll let you know. I'll send you a tweet.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
Sounds good. So just moving on then, Nicole, how about you? What have you been playing?
Well, I have been without internet for a little while, which obviously was great when Destiny 2 came out, and I was rendered completely useless and couldn't play it for the first couple of days.
Like living in a cave in the dark ages.
Yeah, I know. Like, I mean, what is life? But I was playing Stardew Valley in the absence of internet, and
Okay.
I kind of got started on it beforehand, and it's one of those games like any kind of Harvest Moon kind of title, anything similar to that.
Okay.
The game starts flowing, it's a lot better.
Yeah, I've literally no knowledge of that game. I don't think it's not something that I would have kind of played. What's it about?
Really enjoy it. It's a real good time sink. I think over 4 days I put about 30 hours into it.
Isn't that the game
Wow.
only one person made? Am I getting that wrong?
Yes.
I don't know.
It's probably one of those,
It's
one
like-
of those crazy indie games that like one person made.
Yeah,
that becomes...
it's an indie game. Like literally, you start a farm, you get given deeds to a farm, and it's like, oh, go run your own farm. So it's a matter of like accumulating money to farm better. And
I do remember there being a lot of hype about it when it
yeah,
first
it was.
launched.
It's honestly phenomenal. Like it's really recreational. I really enjoy it. It's therapeutic, and it's such a good come down game. When you've been playing, beforehand, I think I was playing Doom, and just the pure come down, I was just like, oh, this is nice. It's so simplistic.
I agree with that sort of term, like a come down game, because I agree, like you when you're playing something that's quite intense or quite stressful or requires a lot of concentration or a lot of hours to sink in, I like to have the palette cleanser in between, which is something completely different genre, different art style, different gameplay. So I will play, just off the top of my head, example that you use, Doom. Then I want to play something like Ratchet and Clank, for example, in between, something that's just completely polar opposite. So that way you don't kind of get burnt out on similar kind of games, and you can kind of refresh. Yeah. And it's fun, like variety is the spice of life, as they say.
Yeah, and like I know you guys were alluding to how much like platinums we have in compared into difference to you guys, which is not that much at all. Not that even it matters, but I think that's what you need to do once you keep playing as many games as like me and Daz would on a regular basis. You could, like you said, you wouldn't line up 10 RPGs in a row for you to play in platinum, because you'll probably just burn yourself out, and then you'll end up hating trophies or not liking the hobby. So you have to I have like a backlog of like 10 really really small games, and then like 3 or 4 big games that I play, and I just dip in and out between depending on how I feel, really. Some small light-hearted games, and then other big long open world story based games. So like Dad said, the variety is definitely the spice of it, but you need to do that to keep going though, so
For sure.
I agree. I'm playing sorry, I interrupted there. I'm playing Persona 5 at the moment, but I'm about 48 hours in, and I was playing it a lot, so I've kind of stepped back from it for a few weeks, and then I'm going to go back in, because it's not the kind of game where you lose the skill. Some games, if you're playing a game by platinum, you want that kind of twitch skill to be fresh and muscle memory so that you can do the harder difficulties. But with Persona, you can kind of come away from it, go back in, and you're like, oh, I remember where I was, and kind of carry on like a good kind of TV series or something.
So I take it that you don't, like, for me, maybe you've mentioned before, I play games one at a time, because I like to focus all my concentration into one game. That's just me as a gamer, as a trophy hunter. I like to just put everything into it, and then once I've got 100%, then I move on. I assume from what you've just described there, you're not like that.
I try to be as much as possible, but with something like Persona 5, I don't think I'm going to platinum it. I think it's like 200 odd hours, so I'm kind of playing it for personal fun almost. So then I'm playing games around it to platinum, and I kind of stepped away. I platinumed a few, then I went back into it.
A long-term
and
platinum. That's what I call it. A long-term.
Yeah,
platinum.
so it might be something I do. I did Persona 4 as a platinum, but that was a bit shorter. So yeah, I try to keep one game on the go at a time, but I find it hard if the game is a long one. I get probably between 5 and 10 hours a week to game. So if something's going to take me 100 plus hours, I find it hard that that's going to be what I'm going to play for the next, I don't know, 20 weeks.
Yeah.
I guess
I'd kill myself.
Yeah, I do absolutely understand that, because like when I platinum GTA 5 and also Metal Gear Solid, like two of the games I put the most hours in, I was playing that non-stop. Not so much Metal Gear Solid 5, but GTA 5 was really bringing me down in the end. Like, it was a miserable time trying to get all of the trophies for the GTA Online, so I left the online section last. But generally speaking, rule of thumb for me is one game at a time, with the only exception is I don't count if I'm playing a game on PS4, I will have a different game going on Vita. I know that's kind of contradictory, but I class the two platforms as totally different, because the PS4, you're sitting there in front of a big TV for ages, but the Vita can go anywhere. So it's it's like a break from the main gaming.
Yeah,
it's like a companion basically. So I don't really class it within.
You should always have a game to play to take when you want to take a break from your main game. Anyway.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But that's what I'm playing Odin Sphere on, is on my Vita. But I'm only playing that at the moment on Vita. So yeah, that's kind of. I try and stick to that mantra, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, for me, all I've been really playing is Knack 2, as I mentioned alongside with Dan. I really, really enjoyed it. Platinum's not too hard, except it's a very, very long game. There is a difficulty trophy for completing it on hard, but the game's not hard at all, so definitely start it on hard so you don't have to do a second playthrough, because there's 15 chapters and it's a very, very long game. But overall, it's fairly easy, and it's a really, really enjoyable game. I really, really liked it.
Is there any co-op trophies?
Nope. Nothing like that. The only trophies.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and some of you wouldn't even really need co-op, because none of the trophies seem related or beneficial by doing it with another person.
Well, it's just marketed like in the adverts of being a co-op game. But
yeah,
cool. I guess that's great for trophy hunters, because I hate co-op trophies. It's such a chore to do.
Yeah, like some trophy that requires you to have a second controller or something like that.
Yeah,
that's pretty stupid. But no, it's completely absent of stuff like that. There is time trials and a Colosseum challenge, but they're not too hard once you get leveled up to the very highest level. It's very, very easy, and very easy trophy list as well, so I'd recommend it on a sale.
Oh, cool. I'll look out for that for sure in the future.
Yeah, just finishing up Mafia 3 as well. That's pretty difficult enough, but there's a lot to it, like 2 playthroughs of an open world game. It's pretty stupid, so.
I've said before, I really like Mafia 2. It was on PS Plus on PS3 like years ago, and I loved it. I thought it was awesome, and I was really excited when they announced Mafia 3. But going from that point of them announcing to here, I've completely lost interest. Whether it's like them talking about like there being like bugs and stuff in it back at launch, I mean, it's probably fine now. And then the trophy, there being like 3 playthroughs required for platinum, and like loads to do, and I've just gone off it. Honestly, I've gone off it.
I think it's much easier than you described there, though. It is a very, very good game. There's 2 playthroughs, but like first playthrough you have to turn all the informants and get them to work for you and stuff like that, and then the next playthrough is for killing them all. So it's like 2 playthroughs are required essentially, but. It can be done. The second playthrough can be done very, very quick if you do everything like the 100% in the first playthrough, if you understand, So, I'm played it through for about 40 hours now at the end of the first playthrough, and I'm saying I'm enjoying it, but like by the time that platinum pings and I'm like 80 hours done with the game, that's when I should give my overall review, I suppose. But for at the moment, yeah, I think it's good enough to play. I really liked it, so.
I have seen it for cheap online on PSN. I mean, it does come up in sales quite often, but no, not even that will tempt me. I'm sure the game's fine, but just the same thing. The same thing happened to me all these years ago with what's it called? Arkham City. Really liked Arkham Asylum. Thought it was awesome. Arkham City was announced. Really hyped for it. And when it came out, kind of went off it. Just wasn't really interested, and then I ended up playing it, borrowing off of someone or playing someone's copy, and I didn't actually enjoy it. So.
Well, that's great. Well, for the next topic, I actually wanted to give Dan a little bit of option just here just to speak about his website and the podcast that he does now.
Yeah, okay, thanks very much. So if you're listening and you don't know, both me and Nick we try and do a weekly podcast, but it doesn't always work because of other commitments. But we do a podcast called SquareXO, which is more of a overview of a PlayStation world rather than just talking about trophies. Not that that's all we've talked about today, but we kind of cover the news, what's coming out. We play some silly games and just chat about kind of our opinions on gaming, really. So, like I say, we try and do it weekly. You can find our Twitter on Square_XO. Sorry, you can find us on Twitter as Square_XO. And then we have a website too, which is www. There you go. Someone's just put it on the chat. www.squarexo.co.uk. So me and Nick are also joined by Joe and Rebecca. So there's a few of us that do it. And both Nick, Joe, and Rebecca tend to write a lot of reviews for us. So
yeah, we
try and cover the new releases and share their opinions on the games. And then we kind of chat about it on the podcast, if we've played it, what we think. And we all have quite different views on games, and we all like different things. So it's quite interesting sometimes when, for example, Joe says Nier Automator's rubbish, and then I have a go at him, for saying it's rubbish because it's probably the best game that's been released this year, in my opinion. But then that's why, gaming's great. We all have these strong opinions, and it's good to air them and put them across. So,
I was keeping my tongue there for that whole Nier Automata part.
I saw you playing it. I saw your tweets about it, Daz, and I gather you
called it Nier a tomato.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. You're exaggerating that, Claire. I said Nier Automata. I can't remember how I said it, but it just sounded a little bit like that. And now it's some kind of meme. Okay,
it's kind of stuck.
I take no part of.
Yeah, no, but it's great, and I think that's why we all love games, isn't it? Because it's like films or music. If we all like the same stuff, then it would be rubbish. So,
of course, I just hope it never evolves to the level like football fans do, where we all like. But I think it is kind of going that way sometimes. But luckily, I think
it's worse. Yeah, it's worse.
There's hooligans out there now, gaming hooligans. So it's important.
Yeah. So. But that's SquareXO anyway. So
you guys have been doing a lot of podcasts. I know I think the last time I checked it, we're up to 35.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, me and Joe started just on our own. So I used to work with Joe for an online retailer, who I won't name because they blocked me on Twitter.
Okay. I know who. Go ahead.
So we started then doing the podcast last October, just as a hobby, really, just because we spoke about gaming a lot, and he kind of plays a lot of games as an ex-journalist, so we thought, why not just talk about it weekly and see what other people think, and kind of just grew from there, and the girls got involved, and really appreciate them helping us out. I don't get much time, as I mentioned before, so as much as I want to be involved, I'm on the podcast and I play the odd game, but I'm so busy that it's nice to be able to call on other people to help us out.
With your aid, yeah.
Well, the website is also very, very well done. Nicole linked a few of the articles she did a review for the Uncharted, The Lost Legacy. She posted that actually in the Discord, and I went onto it, and I was able to look through a few more different articles and stuff like that, really. So it seems to be a high focus on high quality, both on the website and of the writing of the articles as well. So, like I said, the podcast has been ongoing for quite some time now as well, so you're definitely getting a lot out there. And you also do a screenshot competition for your podcast, and have I seen
that's
that
correct
on Twitter?
Yeah,
that's been getting big on Twitter. I've seen that trending even.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. A bit of a bad promoter myself, but yeah, we're lucky enough to partner with a different online retailer who doesn't block me on Twitter and does like me, kind of at the Aloy Sackboy keyrings. So we have a stash of them, which every month we do a hashtag SQXO September or October, whatever the month is. And the idea is that our listeners hashtag their PS4 shares with that hashtag. And then at the end of each month, each one of the contributors on SquareXO picks their favourite one. We put it up for a public vote. And we think we started in June, and we probably had about 20 or so entries.
Yeah.
And now it is almost impossible to pick a favourite one.
It's so difficult. It's just like, I literally go through and like try and keep a mental note of the ones that catch my eye. So I'm like, it's going to get to the end, like, especially when The Lost Legacy came out. That month was so hard.
Games with photo modes make it a lot harder because we've got some very, very skilled digital photographers, I don't know what you want to call them, kind of in our community, and it's amazing what they post. So it's really nice. Obviously we do it as a bit of self-promotion because it gets SQXO out there, but it's also nice because then everyone gets involved and people are commenting on other people's photos and retweeting them, and it's a nice conversation starter. So
well, I personally think the screenshot feature in the PlayStation 4 is my favourite feature of this gen. To be honest, everything that the whole door opened on Twitter and stuff like that, I just find it fantastic. I'm a big fan of sharing screenshots, so it's really cool that you integrated that into part of your podcast. Can I ask how many?
I just wish that just on that note that Twitter didn't compress screenshots so horribly.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not too bad if you're doing it from a PS4 Pro. You can get quite a good quality
PNG
screenshot for print out of that. Yeah, you can probably blow it up to about A4 without too much loss. Which, yeah, you're right. They're not as clean and crisp as when you copy them off of your system.
Try and test it at one point with Twitter compression. I took the higher Pro resolution, the sort of 4K. Settings PNG, and then I did a lower quality one in JPEG, and when I uploaded them both to Twitter, they basically looked exactly the same through the Twitter compression, and also the size limit as well with the 4K or the larger size resolution captures. When you're playing those games, you can only upload one at a time as well because of the Twitter upload limit well.
No, I can upload 4 at a time.
Yeah, you have to go and select them. If you change your selection, you can go through and select 4.
No. What I'm talking about is the size. Like if you have 4 of the higher resolution ones, if you try and do it, you just get an error. It's just too big for the Twitter client.
Oh, I see.
Is it? I know. Sorry, this is a bit of a boring conversation, but I'm on PS4 Pro with my settings on high, and I can share 4 photos through Twitter.
I usually get
Are they all on the highest resolution, the 2160?
I'm 90% sure they are. I'll double check after this, but I'm pretty sure they are because when I copy them down from Twitter to use them on things for SquareXO, they're the bigger size than what standard PS4 share images are.
I couldn't do it before. Just tried to do 4, and I just get an error every single time. So I could only do 1 at a time. So I just busted it all down to the lower.
Maybe they fixed it. Give it a try when we finished. They might have fixed it.
For me, I've had that happen before in the past, but it's been a split between where I've been uploading 4, tried to upload 4, it got the error, and knocked it down to 3, and I was able to upload it.
Yeah,
maybe it depends on what game. Yeah.
We'll have to look into that and try to figure it out, but it can be a little bit annoying getting those errors for the uploads and stuff like that. But can I ask how many times has Horizon Zero Dawn been submitted?
Oh, too many. Too many people play that game anyway.
Yeah.
No, Dan's not his biggest fan, so let's not get onto this.
Oh, really? Oh.
But quite a lot. I'd say that is probably the most posted. I mean, if you look at the ones for this month, there's still a lot of Horizons that crop up just because it is beautiful. The world they created is amazing.
Yeah, it is fantastic, alright. But like I said, I think I've seen from what I've seen on Twitter, like 90% of people are just posting screenshots from that game. So
yeah,
but still, it's a really cool feature to have the podcast. And if you guys who are listening live or listening to this recorded haven't checked it out, we definitely recommend it here at the Trophy Trust for a more kind of PlayStation centric kind of feel to your trophy, your podcast needs. The next kind of section we wanted to go into was just a little bit about, because it's Monday night and we usually don't record a podcast on Monday night. Usually we do it on Friday nights, but it's going to be the PlayStation experience at TGS in under 24 hours from when we're speaking here now. So just kind of wanted to ask here the guys and the cast, what do you guys think is going to pop up? Have you got any predictions or any hopes for what might be shown? Because they kind of had PlayStation really had a not as good as an E3 as they did in previous years, so a lot of people think they're going to be holding back.
Yeah, I put something up this morning on my Twitter. I do think Sony cut down their presentation after seeing the Xbox presentation, so that they've held things back. I believe that.
Well, there's I wanted to tie this in. Maybe they're related, or maybe we're just kind of looking into it a little bit too much. Me personally, somebody had shared on Twitter. There seems to be evidence going around that players of the Fortnite game, PlayStation 4 players, have been shooting Xbox players. So they think that one developer had accidentally enabled crossplay between it. So is it possible that they could come out and say it might be enabled crossplay? What do you think?
Well, there was that whole thing with crossplay during E3, that whole like media debacle about Sony's the bad guy here because they're not enabling it for Xbox Live, but Nintendo is. But then it came out that you need to sign into Xbox Live on Minecraft on Switch so you can play with Xbox players, and it kind of sort of like shed light on that issue. It's like, do you think Sony's going to allow an outside competitor's network in on their network? And it kind of went nowhere. After a while, it kind of bubbled away, and no one was really talking about it. But people sort of made Sony out to be the villain in this piece. And personally, I don't care either way. I don't really play online games, so cross network play it's a moot point for me. I can understand the appeal for other people, but I don't know. I don't think they'll. I mean, that could just be from a developer.
Yeah, like
dev kit or something, you know.
Yeah,
it could be anything.
If it's the developer server, like let's say if the developers say we have dedicated servers and you're meeting each other through that server on their end, then maybe that's something that Sony will allow. You know, because I also agree that I wouldn't like to have to create an Xbox Live account to play these guys through that kind of stuff, because I can understand where Sony could be thinking from. Then Xbox will send them marketing, and then you already have an account come over to our side, and then that's just basically easy poaching of customers. So I
don't really understand. Like, I do and I don't understand. I understand the fact that yes, there is an appeal to this from a social point of view, playing with your friends on another platform. But it's not like you're short of people to play with on your own platform.
Well, I'll put it this way. This is what I was thinking. This is why I probably would be really, really for it. It could literally unite us with the achievement hunters. So all those guys who are like stuck on dead end servers, who are waiting and can only find Xbox players, would be able to find PlayStation 4 players, and we could all help each other with achievements or trophies and stuff like that. So I think that would be a very, very good thing to happen. That's probably one of the reasons why I would like to see it happen, because I mean, our partner server and some of the stuff we do in our channels help match players to games to try get them a co-op player to play or something like that as well. So if like we could be opened up to Xbox as well for that purpose, I think it could really benefit both the trophy hunters and the achievement hunters community.
To be honest, it doesn't feel like something that's going to be announced at like the Tokyo Game Show. Like it just doesn't seem like the theme of it. Like usually at TGS you get like, not that this necessarily is going to be the case this time, but you have like the hardware, and it's very kind of like business orientated, and it's in Tokyo as well. So it's like the Japanese part of Sony is obviously they're playing in their own grounds, so to speak.
Yeah,
I just don't think they're going to mention a competitor there in their own sort of stadium, so to speak.
Well, I said back before E3 that I was expecting new hardware, so I wouldn't be half surprised if we see some kind of new hardware tomorrow, but I don't know what. I've been talking about this almost like an empty PS Vita, so just a remote play device, just so that you can take your games or play PlayStation 4 anywhere.
The only thing I can think of that would be regards to hardware, that I think would maybe pack a punch would be if there was some kind of price cut to the Pro to kind of counterattack the Xbox One X. I know, obviously, the Xbox One X is going to be more powerful than the Pro, but a price cut could help a little bit. That's the only thing I can really think of. Like, at this point, it's too early for a brand new PlayStation, so they can only just work with what they've got currently.
They've already done a slim version as well, so if there's going to be any hardware, it has to be Vita related. There's definitely not going to be an upgrade to like PSV or 2.0 or anything like that. So I could only imagine.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
they've kind of left PSVR for now, haven't they? They're kind of just letting it bubble away until people decide to make games for it, I suppose.
I'm a bit worried, and hopefully we get to talk about that in a future podcast. But I also think, like you said, Daz, it's because it's hosted in Tokyo, it is very Japanese centric with games as well. And I don't actually play the games, but I know there's been a lot of call and a lot of want for it. I believe you are very interested in it as well, Dan. It's the Shenmue. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, that was my prediction number 2. Yeah, Shenmue HD gets announced. There's been rumours leaked from random retailers that it's been listed. So some kind of yes, it's coming would be amazing.
I've seen so many people, like so many diehard fan accounts, and then so many diehard fans of that series like follow me and stuff like that on Twitter. But I've never played the game. I don't know anything what's about.
Oh, it's such a good game.
Is it even out on PlayStation platforms? Because I think I seen the first one was on like Dreamcast. Am I right?
That's it. Yeah, the first one was on Dreamcast. The sequel was on Dreamcast, but right at the kind of death of the machine. So then they also released it on Xbox with a interactive cutscene explaining the first game. But other than that, it's never been released in any other form, which is quite rare actually for a game of that's loved by that many people. But obviously, Free got quite a big backing on Kickstarter, so there's a lot of fans that really want it or want them. So they'd be idiots not to do it.
And with a large PlayStation 4 install base, you think there's going to be announced a HD collection of the first and second one on PlayStation 4?
Yeah, I think so. I'd love it on Vita, actually, if I'm being honest. I think it being on Vita would be a much better fit for the type of game that it is.
What type of game is it?
So it's difficult to explain. It's an RPG at its heart, a bit like Yakuza. Well, it's kind of Yakuza's Grandad. It's the game that became Yakuza. So, but it's done in a way that you every 15 minutes or so is a day in the life of the character, and then you end up kind of getting a job and doing the story in the evening after work. And it's kind of, it isn't a Second Life game, but you live the character's life. So it's quite interesting. But it's the combat engine is built on the old Virtua Fighter engine. So the combat's like a 3D fighting game with multiple characters. So it probably will really show its age if it comes out.
Yeah.
But the story and the narrative and the world is so good that it makes me want to go back and kind of live it again, I suppose.
Oh,
I do still have it.
Don't you think though that maybe you're possibly looking for it with rose-colored glasses?
I am.
This happens. This happens a lot with like HD ports or remakes, or people go back to games. And I'm not, things age. It's not a bad thing, but do you think that maybe your experience may be like sullied a little bit if you find that it's aged in such a way that it doesn't fit to your expectations of modern gaming? Not that you're going in expecting it, but just how games work and how they're smooth these days and not too clunky, or the story flows. Like, do you think that if you play it, you might have a different opinion this time around?
I don't know, because it's in my top 5 games of all time, the first one. So, and I've played it probably in the last 5 or 6 years on Dreamcast. So I still kind of know what it's like anyway. But I think when you play the remakes of Resident Evil 1 on GameCube, they kind of kept the controls, and Twin Snakes, they kept the controls. And even down to things like Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, the HD collections, they still kind of had the the roots in old gaming, but it still worked. And I think when a game means that much to you, I think you almost put up with that when you play it again. So it might not have the critical success that I believe it would deserve, but it would have the personal enjoyment level that, because I know I love it. You know, you have those games that you just love.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree, because a recent example would be the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy, like the first game, the Crash Bandicoot one. Even though the controls may have been tweaked slightly, there's still, as you said, the roots of the original controls are there. And honestly, saying this as a fan, they suck. The controls are not great in that game compared to modern gaming, but you put up with it. And Claire can attest to this as well. He put up with it as well to get through some of them levels, because you just enjoy the games. I mean, Claire, didn't you say that you weren't familiar with the first one? You played 2 onwards, right?
Yeah, I never played the first one.
But you still have the nostalgia for that franchise, though, right? Which is possibly what compelled you through that game, as well as the fact that you're a trophy hunter.
Yeah, I've got most of the hardest levels done. I just haven't whipped a crack on myself and gotten that platinum yet. But like, I've gotten the bulk of it done. So
yeah, I mean, like I say, I think it's the same with Metal Gear Solid. If you go back and play that on PS1 now, it's so, there's no first person view, the camera's really annoying, you can't move it, but the story is such and the game is so good that you're like, I'm just going to, for what it is. So yeah, Shenmue would be great. I'd love them also to bring a Ridge Racer HD collection out. I love Ridge Racer, and they've not done anything with that series for a long time.
Not since it became a meme at that PlayStation 3 launch, E3.
Yeah, well, there was a version on the 3DS, I think, was probably the last retail version of the game, but I'd love to see it back on PlayStation.
Well, hopefully we get some good news coming out of TGS tomorrow. I think it will be small. I don't think it's going to be anything major either. Just stuff like that, remasters, new footage of some games, something like that. I don't think hardware either. So, but we just wanted to move on here now, basically onto the very last section that we do here on the Trophy Trust podcast, and that's the Tricky Trophies section. For those who don't know, we basically move on to where we look back through our trophy collections at a trophy that we've gotten us that has been very challenging, rage-inducing, or just was plain boredom to grind through, just for one single trophy. So I wanted to ask Dan, what was your Tricky Trophy? What have you chosen?
So I've plumped for one that I obtained in May of 2014, so it's going back a little bit, and it's actually for Batman, which was funny that you mentioned that earlier, Daz. And it was Free Flow Perfection, where you had to do a combo using, each of the 20 Batman's moves?
Yeah, without breaking the combo at all.
Yeah, that was that one, and the one where you've got to get 3 stars or whatever it is on all the challenge rooms. That game was very tricky.
Yeah. We actually have had someone mention this on a previous episode, but we would like to hear your experience of it anyway.
I remember not getting it until quite early hours in the morning. My wife had gone to bed and I stayed up because I was so close. You know when you get, and you're like, oh, one more go, oh, one more go, oh, one more go. And it was probably about 3 or 4 hours on a weeknight. Yeah,
I know what you mean.
But that feeling when you get it, you're like, oh, I am king of the world, as it were, and you feel brilliant. But it was.
Have you ever had one of those experiences, like not necessarily with a trophy, but just gaming in general, where you're up to the early hours, you're struggling, and then the game's kicking your ass, and then you think, you know what, screw this, forget it, go to bed, come back the next day, just do it on the first try, no problem.
Yeah,
it's just psychological. You need to rest your brain. Your brain solves problems while you sleep. You're thinking it over. And at the time, you're like, I'm doing it now. You just grind yourself into the ground. But then you come back the next day and just swan in and just do it. And that's a good feeling as well.
It is, but it's also annoying, especially if you've wasted an hour or 2 hours the night before and you're just like, oh, for God's sake, why didn't I just do... But yeah, Batman was... That is probably one of my hardest platinum trophies in all, I'd say Arkham Asylum. I can't remember many, but that was one that caused me some grief.
I never got it. Never did it. Like that was pretty much the only trophy left. That and the combat challenge, getting was it 3 or 5 stars or whatever it was? Perfect.
You had to be perfect. You had to not break a combo, not get hit. You do it in the shortest amount of time. It was almost like a rhythm action game. where you had to just remember the button presses and not necessarily look at the screen. That was a bit like Hotline Miami was a bit like that as well, if any of you guys have done that. It was more of a rhythm action game than it was an actual kind of combat shooty game.
I tried Hotline Miami, and after the first chapter, sorry, of like the first level, I just deleted it. I just had enough.
I was the same. It's too infuriating for me.
Yeah, I didn't like
it was no
either.
fun.
I enjoyed it, but I didn't play the second one. I couldn't put I enjoyed it, and I was glad I got the platinum, but I couldn't put myself through the sequel.
Probably more the same, really too much familiarity, I think.
Yeah.
Well, for the Batman games, I played them, but I didn't get platinum. I only got platinum on the third one, PlayStation 4. But I got the other two on PlayStation 4, and I didn't platinum either of them. But I did like play them. So they're, like I said, going back to what you said earlier, there's an example of a game that I would just buy and play that I wouldn't care about platinum. So it's not always about platinums at the end of the day, you know. You gotta just play those good games as well. But that is definitely a tricky trophy, because the same trophy exists on the Arkham Knight version, which I did as well. Which basically you have to do every move in Batman's move repertoire in a one combat without breaking it. So it's pretty tricky trophy. So Nicole, what would been your tricky trophy?
Okay, well, we are journeying back to 2015 when I attained the I Got Skills trophy in Assassin's Creed Unity.
Okay.
And this was a pain in the bum because, as a lot of people are well aware of, when it was released, Unity was very dysfunctional. Like, not only was the game itself, like the campaign, unfinished, but the multiplayer, which was this new introduced feature of being able to do co-op stealth missions, was completely dysfunctional. It didn't work, it was broken, and it was absolutely infuriating. So in this trophy, you had to go around and get sync points within the co-op missions, which meant obviously it's just an online trophy, you can't avoid it, like, by any means.
Yeah.
And ridiculous, like, by the time they fixed the multiplayer, the servers were dead. Found myself, I think funny enough, I was probably like grinding for it till like 4 or 5 in the morning, just trying to find people like that would do it, like, because it was just insane. I'd just be coming across newcomers that would and not let me go off and do my own thing. Like, they'd just be following me and not killing people, and it drove me nuts. And it was the last trophy I had to get the platinum.
Yeah, so we can
Drove me to distraction.
We certainly can all attest to having been annoyed by an online trophy and a co-op trophy. When you combine both of them, it's just bad news. But you did get there in the end. Obviously, you had to rely on randoms, was it?
Yep, randoms indeed.
So, like, is the trophy you were saying that you had to visit different points in different levels? Is that like in every single story level that's available? Like,
it was just like they had like loads of different co-op missions online that you had to
separate co-op missions, is it? Oh.
Yeah, and ridiculous. It was just absolutely insane. Like, because the sync points you had to get were like, they were obscurely placed. Like, they were so far away from the objective that it was hard to play with randomers, because they would, like, I would say, like, follow you.
Yeah.
Doing, and you'd just be like, the timer would time out or the mission would fail, and you'd just be like within reach of the sync point.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, the last one, it was like on this church at the edge of the map, and I was playing with this guy, the enemies with him, so he kind of knew what he was doing, because he was like, you know, new to the game. And I started doing that, and then I'd, like, you know, sync point, and he'd just start following me, and the timer would go down, and I'd be like, no, what are you doing? Go back. I need this.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like it was definitely hard. That definitely qualifies as a tricky trophy, because having to rely on somebody else and not your own skill or your own time, I think
that's the problem with online trophies, though, isn't it? It's not just you and your ability; it's you relying on everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. And I know me and you we've arranged to play an old PlayStation 3 Ratchet and Clank game, because that, strangely enough, has online trophies. If you can believe it, at Ratchet and Clank, they felt the need to put online PvP trophies. You know?
I hate online trophies. I don't think they should make them mandatory for platinums.
No, they should be like under the DLC.
Which
list, you know?
Ratchet and Clank game is that? What are you talking about?
Q-Force.
Yeah, Q-Force. You have to face 5 online people.
Oh, yeah, that game sucks.
Yeah, it's not a Ratchet game. It's not a Ratchet Clank game. It's a offline demo of League of Legends with Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, it's the one. It's like tower defense, isn't it? If I remember correctly.
Line defense. Yeah.
Defending
Yeah. Oh, I platinumed that game, but I
Me
can't
too.
remember like the multiplayer trophy because I'm obviously did it, but yeah, that game is frustrating enough without online trophies
Yeah.
for sure.
And if there's no
The worst on
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, as I said, the worst online trophy I've ever had to try and arrange was on FIFA 09, I think it was, on the
Jesus.
PS3, where you had to have 11 versus 11. You had to play a game with 22 people all online at once. And to arrange that was absolute ball ache. I remember we were out for a Saturday night with friends, and I went home to do the trophy and then went back out again afterwards just because that's when it was arranged to be done. But I think that is my rarest platinum trophy because of that one trophy.
Yeah, that sounds very, very hassle. A lot of hassle.
Yeah.
Now, what I wanted to say on that was there's a trophy that reminded me of that, actually, of the that I did in Burnout Paradise. Have any of you guys done that?
Yeah, I love that game.
Yeah, it's a great game, but two of the such a bullshit trophy list, especially two of them. One of them required you having to have the PlayStation 3 camera, folks. I mean, you had to have the camera to get the platinum. I
bought the camera for the platinum.
I had to do that as well, man. Like, you shouldn't need PlayStation. Well, they don't. It's never been done since, so luckily they cut that Mickey out of it. But you literally needed to go out and buy a PlayStation camera so that you could take a scoop photo of you called your mugshot, so that you could send that to somebody when you like flip them off in game and stuff like that. So, what I was saying,
yeah, that's pretty unheard of. Actually, locking a trophy behind like a peripheral.
Yeah.
That's like rule number one. Like no for like trophy lists or just game content, like in general, unless the game comes with the peripheral. But generally, you don't see stuff locked behind. Trophies mainly locked behind peripherals. I know we have like games like, what's it like on like amiibos and stuff where it's like content locked behind accessories, but you know, having to buy a camera, like a pretty expensive peripheral, too, you know, for a trophy. That's definitely that would be frowned heavily upon nowadays for sure.
Definitely, but luckily, it hasn't reoccurred since. But I just mentioned that because that was the most bullshit trophy in that trophy list. But the actual trophy I was referring to was that you needed to have 11 or 9 people, between 11 or 9 people in like the stadium of the map, at the same time.
Oh yeah.
So like you needed to have like loads of people online, on the server. Now there was actually some kind of glitch to that because you could get like 3 or 4 people in there, and then if you get a load of cop cars in there and like a load of people chasing you, they count it, and that's how I managed to do it. So, but like you still needed to collect like a load of people and gather them at the same place at the same time as well. So like that was kind of, trophies to me are the worst. I hate them. I've done so many of them now. I hate them, you know.
Yeah, I think it would be nice if they could realise that we don't like them and take them out of trophy lists as mandatory. That would be quite kind.
Yeah, well, just even what Nicole said, they went from adding ridiculous multiplayer trophies in Assassin's Creed stuff to swapping the trophies over to co-op stuff now. And now it seems like the very latest Assassin's Creed coming up doesn't have any of that crack. It's just an old school offline game.
Yeah,
maybe.
Looks really refurbished and good, and I'm really excited for it. So.
Yeah, because I mean, I could have gotten probably 3 platinums on PlayStation 3 that I missed out on because I refused to play the absolutely shitty Assassin's Creed multiplayer that existed at the time. It was terrible, so that's not something I wanted to grind to max level for. I think Brotherhood, Revelations, and another one I'm forgetting maybe. They all stopped me from earning the platinums on that. So definitely really, really hate online trophies. Daz, what was your tricky trophy then this week?
Well, my tricky trophy for this week is from Doom 2016. The reason I brought this up is because I know this is a PlayStation-centric podcast for trophies, but they recently announced Doom's coming to Nintendo Switch. So I thought, you know what, that game is awesome and one of my favorite games in recent years. So I thought, well, let's have a little look through the trophy list. And there's the game, as you know, as a platinum is pretty easy, I'd say. But there is one particular trophy which is a tricky trophy, the tricky trophy of this game, and that is a toe into madness, and this is completely UAC, which is the second level in the game on Ultra Nightmare. Now, this trophy is basically just saying sample one level of the game on the hardest mode. No other levels, just this one level, and it's crazy. Like the most basic of enemies in the game, which on any other mode is like one hit kill with melee or whatever, they just rip you apart in mere seconds. And it was a real struggle to get through it, but I didn't do it legit. I actually used a glitch. There is a well-known glitch to get through that particular level on the hardest mode for this trophy. And what you do is you find a way to kind of clip through the wall and travel basically over the level through by getting outside of the map. You go through it takes a lot of. It took me a few goes, a lot of very fiddly maneuvers, because you're not supposed to get out of the map. You know, it's designed that way. But you find a way. You kind of climb up a cliff, and you then just pass through a wall. And when you pass through, you've still got to be very careful though, because if you fall through the map, you will die. So you have to be very careful with your footing and your jumps, and you basically maneuver round the outside of the map, outside the level design, and then you just jump down, bypassing all the enemies, all the frustrating combat, all the like probably hours of trying to get through this. If you're like me, of course, if you're skilled at Doom, and I'm sure there's loads of people who have beat it on Ultra Nightmare all the way through to the end, I can't do it. Like I can't even do this one level. So massive kudos to those who can, but I didn't. I had to use this glitch.
Yeah.
Got through, dropped down, hit the button to end the level, boom, got the trophy. Now that sounds like it was easy, but honestly, trying to clip through the level is really tricky. Tricky if you do it legit, very tricky if you do it legit, but even it's quite a task to kind of find a way to clip out of the map by itself. It definitely took me about an hour and many attempts to get it right, but it was the last trophy I needed for the whole game. So I mean, fantastic credit to id Software for just having that one trophy. Like, try the game on hardest mode, not beat it on hardest mode, because if it was beat on hardest mode, that would no platinum for me, because it's too hard for me personally.
And that mode, when you die, you restart from the start as well.
Yeah, that's true. On Ultra Nightmare, if you die, you begin from the beginning of the game, no matter where you are in the game. There's basically you can only save the game once you've beat the level, I think. And I can't remember exactly, but yeah, you can only beat the game.
Some kind of requirements like that, yeah.
When you beat the entire level. So if you die during the level, it's back to the beginning again of the, not of the level, but I think of the game. I can't remember. It's been a while, but it's brutal.
Yeah.
I've got Doom in my backlog as something to play at some point.
Fantastic
So,
game. Yeah.
How long did it take you to do?
Just
the platinum in general?
Not very long. The game is awesome. Like the rest of the game, the game is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
Visuals, the fast gameplay, the soundtrack is fantastic. It's just so satisfying. You just feel so over. You don't actually have to play the game on anything other than easy, basically, other than for that one trophy. So I'd say like play it on easy, normal, and just breeze through it and just have fun. It's so good. But for that one, so a couple of hours for that final trophy. But overall, I can't remember exactly. The game's pretty long, but you're having such a blast playing it. It doesn't like quite feel long enough, almost. Yeah. But it is
feel like a grind.
Campaign. No, absolutely not, because the combat is so quick. There's no cover. You just have to. With the combat, the key is killing quickly, because the enemies are coming at you very fast. You're getting injured, but you get health and armor and whatnot back by killing the enemies quickly and doing like the I think they're called glory kills, I think, or something. Basic, like the brutal, very brutal
you tear them
kills.
apart and like pull them. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, we rip and tear until it is done, as the game says in the opening. And yeah, that's your reward you're rewarded for brutality with health and armor and whatnot. So you just got to go full tilt and just rip them apart.
It's a fantastic game, yeah. I got the platinum, and I really, really enjoyed it. As you said, it was a bit of a tricky trophy to get that done, because it's still really hard to clip out of the actual map. But Nicole, did you say earlier that you did it legit?
Oh no, I want to do it, but like
Do it
I
legit.
now I found out that like that's kind of put me off doing it immediately. Like, so I was just like, oh, I'll go back when I've got the time. But I mean, now I found out that the trophy that I was dreading has an easy way to do it. I'll
Yeah.
probably, give it a go legit. But if it frustrates me, I know there's like, a way around it, which is nice.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did it. I did it by that. I think anyone who has the platinum, most people did it by that, I'd say, and definitely a good percentage of them. So, I don't think I even tried it to do it on Ultra Nightmare. So, because it is brutal. Like, even getting past the first few enemies, like, is pretty tough. To get to the point where you have to glitch out with a map. Yeah. So. That's why once you do actually glitch out, like that said, you have to be very careful with your footing.
Yeah,
Because,
it's not easy to actually get to that glitch. At first, you actually have to go through quite a lot of enemies before you actually have to get to that point. So it took me quite a few attempts just to get to that bit. Like, it's very early in the game. Like, it's second level, very early in the second level, but you have to fight quite a lot of enemies to get there first. And on Ultra Nightmare, they are absolutely brutal. Like, you will die a lot just trying to get to the glitch. It's not as easy as it sounds, like saying, oh well, I just glitched through the map. You have to get to the point first, which is hard enough.
Do you reckon they added the glitch on purpose? I wonder with this sometimes.
No, I don't.
How would
think
someone
so.
find it?
yeah,
Like, what
Well,
was someone
like
doing?
how any people who like speed play or deliberately try and glitch the game,
yeah.
someone probably just found it on one version and then spread the word, and other people found it on the other. I discovered it. I found a video of it on YouTube, but someone told me about it prior. You know how these things spread, they're like viral, like the kind of glitches and whatnot. But there are communities out there, isn't there? The people
Yeah,
that
yeah.
like speed run Mario 64 using like glitches by like clipping through the map and finishing Mario 64 in like a couple of minutes.
I found a few
Yeah.
glitches in Killing Floor 2 that I put up on YouTube, and the videos did quite well as well. So I think I think some people literally go out there and play games to find those type of glitches, honestly.
Yeah.
But it is pretty amazing. I often wonder how much how people find out these crazy things as well. Like, stand in a certain corner at 7:30 at night and jump backwards 20 times. Like, who would have thought that?
I imagine most of the times it's just pure accident, and then they manage to replicate that accident again, and then they find themselves have a method,
Yeah.
and then share it.
Yeah, I couldn't be arsed for that kind of shit anyway, so that's a waste of my time. But thank you to those who do, because you enable us to skip trophy requirements. So thank you. So I wanted to speak a little bit about my tricky trophy. It's from the Star Wars Battlefront. I'm not sure if any of you guys have played it, but it's pretty tricky trophy list all around. Some of the trophies are pretty inventive, and they use literal descriptions from Star Wars stuff, so they try to get you to do literal things like that. But the one that I found most challenging was a trophy called Crush Them with One Swift Stroke, which is basically you have to be in an ATST, and you have to trample 25 enemy players. But the problem with that is like, you have to pick up a token that randomly appears on the map before you'll be able to get into an ATST. So most of the time you'll just find, like, you'll learn where they all spawn on the maps, and then you'll find people.
Is the 25 kills cumulative, or you have to do it in one match?
No, it's over time, but you kind of understand how hard it is. Basically, is if you do manage to even
tokens.
if you get the tokens and you even do manage to get into the thing, I mean, it goes so slow, and the enemies are so far away, and they have all these rockets, and they can literally take you down before you can get 2 steps in front of them. And because you're in a big, massive, like basically an ATST, the smaller versions of the big ones at the start of Empire Strikes Back, for those who don't know, because like you're basically, you can't hide or you can't sneak up on people
Just
and that kind of thing.
bullseye, really.
Yeah, it's really, really hard to camouflage yourself or anything like that. So you literally have to pray that you see some really, really dumb people playing, and you could just go up and like walk on them. It's very, very
Quite
hard.
a few of the trophies on that game are really hard, as you said.
Yeah. I think using a tow cable to destroy an AT-AT, just like they did in the start of Empire Strikes Back as well, on the Hoth planet, that's a trophy requirement. That's pretty hard to do as well, because you need to be a good pilot, and then you have to be like at the end of the game under right circumstances and situations. So I think the trophy list overall is very, very hard, but I just found that trample thing really, really extra hard because
Did you platinum it, by the way?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, the trophy. I've looked at the trophy list many times because I've seen Battlefront on sale
Great
so many
game.
times, and even currently it's like really cheap.
€5,
But
yeah. It's like
the-
£3.99 for you
yeah, the
guys.
trophy list has completely put me off playing that game because I would want to platinum it, but it just looks like an absolute ball ache to do, and I just end up getting frustrated. And
No,
as
I
we've
don't think
covered
so.
as we've covered in this episode, though, like online multiplayer trophies
Yeah.
are not great.
No, they're not, but I don't...
Winning one of each multiplayer match that got me, because the hero hunt is really hard to do.
Oh, yeah.
Because loads of people like glitch the map and that now, so it's really difficult.
I didn't know about glitching the map now, but I basically kind of played it at the very start at launch, and then I didn't play it much after that. After I got platinum, I thought I would, but I didn't. I know it's gone really, really cheap now, but I already have platinum, so it's not a game I'm gonna pick up and play
Yeah,
again.
the season pass was free as of recent as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like £4 for the Ultimate Edition, which includes the season pass.
yeah. There's also not only just like because there's no single player. There's a lot of online multiplayer trophies involved in it, and then there's still some like co-op trophies where you get to like survive against waves and waves of enemies, and some of those can be quite tricky as well. So
Do you think that because Battlefront 2 has got story campaign, the multiplayer trophies will maybe a little easier, sort of along the line of like how Destiny's gone, where like the trophies are more simplified, but still the tasks are quite grand?
no, I think with EA and their online stuff and being a Battlefield fan and Star Wars and playing all those kind of games and getting the trophies, they'll just like include the bulk of them to be the bulk of the trophies to be single player, but like there's still going to be online trophy stuff. I assume there's going to be a max level, do crazy stuff. There's always been like
I think I'd probably be interested if the bulk of the trophies are campaign, but like fine if it's like max level and all that. But my point is, they put in these like crappy trophies for the first game, like difficult trophies to acquire because the game is just multiplayer. But where the new game, the second game coming out now, where it's got a campaign, generally things that are hard to do trophy wise in a campaign are easier, if you get my meaning, because they're offline. That it's something you
it'll
can
move to that. Like I said, that would be like trampling 25 people like online or something like that. I could easily see them doing a level where they will ask a certain amount of kills in a certain amount of time frame from something, but like all the kills will be against like AI enemies,
making it easier,
Yeah.
generally speaking.
Yeah, I can see them moving to that, yeah,
Predictable.
definitely, because they have a single player element, but like they're still going to include hefty multiplayer stuff. It might not be individual trophies like that, but I'm definitely assuming there's going to be like complete all survival missions on gold if there is, or get to the max level, because it's been pretty much like that for all the Battlefields before it and the previous Battlefront as well. I'm not going to get this new Battlefront 2. Actually, I'm not going to get that at launch. There's very few games that are coming up this Christmas period that actually I'm going to be buying at launch, so probably get some of the games that have only just come out in the last few weeks while those games on. I'm hoping most of them, I'm going to get most of them actually in a sale in the new year or something like that. I just find my backlog is actually just too big now. But that was my tricky trophy. I don't think any of you guys have even... Well, Nicole, it sounds like you played a lot of Battlefront, did you?
Yeah, I did. I kind of, I had like a big kind of established group of people that I used to play it with, but that kind of dispersed eventually. So I kind of, stopped playing it. But I did play it a lot initially, and I mean, I still didn't get that trophy, and that was back when
It was
people were
server.
less clued
Yeah.
up and they weren't going for these power ups. And I mean, so when people are, more inclined to go for them, like, I can imagine how hard it was to get that.
Yeah, it definitely was, but luckily I managed to get it done, and like I said, that's why I think one of the great things about this Discord community is you have that kind of group of people to always play and always play online games with. I know we didn't obviously stretch back that far, but we've done it with a number of previous online games, and we are doing it with future online games as well, like Destiny 2 and all that as well. Just making sure that there's people there that will be able to help you if you do need a trophy in an online game.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to do with Q-Force. Hopefully we'll get that done, and
Yeah,
there's a few other people in the trophy LFG. So that's pretty much for us. Pretty much it for us on this episode. I wanted to leave it where we can all let the guys know where we can be reached at. So where can you be reached at, Daz?
You can find me on Twitter at the Dazeel, the DAZEEL.
What does that mean, Daz? Has it got? Am I being naive there? Does it mean something, or just
You're
your
actually
name?
probably the first person to ask me this. It's okay. It's a really old kind of like character name I came up with when I used to do artwork like years ago. Like I studied A-level artwork and whatnot, and in my downtime I'd fill out sketchbooks with like I used to do a lot of concept art, just of like weird creatures and whatnot. And I designed a character that would sort of be like my avatar, if you want to call it that,
Yeah.
like my go-to creature that would represent kind of like not me, but like it would be like my designed own creature in my own world of all my artwork that I used to do. And
Yeah.
it was like a big kind of like black and red eel. So I just combined my name with eel, like my nickname Darren
Yeah.
Daz with eel, and just called it the Dazeel because like the singular one and only, and it just stuck forever. So
Ah, cool.
yeah, and that's just what it's come from, and I just use it as a standard, really.
Ah, now I know, because I just always wondered. I've followed you for so long on Twitter. I think when you were a gold DualShock 3, I think.
Yeah,
It was like
yeah.
years ago. So
Yeah.
always
Yeah, I
wondered.
remember that.
He's
Yeah, that was
upgraded
actually-
to a sentient human now.
Yeah, I know he's got a face.
That gold controller used to have an avatar. Actually, funny enough, that was before the gold controller came out. I had a gold PS3 DualShock 3, and when I got the PS4 one, I took a photo of it and photoshopped it into gold. But now, funnily enough, I actually do own the gold DualShock 4. So
Maybe you should Photoshop your Twitter avatar with a load of like £1 million in your mouth, because then in a couple of years' time, the same might happen and it might come true.
If only.
Let's see.
Sorry, off topic there.
No problem.
That's right.
At least we got into the depths of how Daz became, how he evolved to be what he is now, which is very good. What about you, Dan? Where can everyone find you?
So I'm on Twitter too, and my Twitter handle is @my_name_Dan. A bit convoluted, I know, but
Rolls off the tongue.
I know my name is Dan was taken by someone else called Dan, I hope. So I had to whack some underscores in there, as you do.
Great.
But yeah, that's me.
Perfect. And Nicole, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter as @GamersDelight with 2 S's, 1 word.
Perfect. And as always, I'm available here in the Discord and on Twitter myself @Claire88Gaming. So I wanted to give special thanks to Daz, who's always beside me here in the episode of the podcast, but also our 2 special guests this week, both Dan and Nicole, for making the time and the effort to come and join us on this episode. Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah, thanks guys for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's been
Yeah,
a
thank you.
blast.
Yeah, it's been good. We've got some good conversation going there.
Yeah, hopefully
Definitely.
we can do something again, but get you guys either together or individually, and I will critique your trophy list in general. We'll really go through it, make you feel ashamed.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that would be good actually. Go through the kind of the games we should have finished that we haven't, and just make us feel bad.
No, we certainly wouldn't do that. But it's been very, very great episode, and having you guys around. Hope we can do something in the future, and everybody else will be back again as normal on Friday with another episode on the schedule. And thanks for tuning in.
Bye bye.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.